As U.S. airstrikes target Islamic State militants in Iraq and Syria, a debate has arisen in Washington over whether Congress should consider a broad authorization for the use of military force. Lawmakers say President Obama has the authority to order temporary airstrikes, but that an extended campaign should get the backing of Congress.
Michael Bowman covers the U.S. Senate for VOA, and here he tells me about his coverage of this debate. Check it out.
One day after the latest U.S. airstrikes against Islamic State positions in Iraq, Secretary Hagel sought to rally lawmakers behind the administration's plans to unite a broad coalition to defeat the Sunni militant group, also known as ISIS or ISIL.
ISIL poses a real threat to all countries in the Middle East, our European allies, and to America.
Mike, the fact that the White House began these airstrikes in Syria without the express authorization of Congress, what does this say about the current state of political power in Washington?
Well, above all, what it says is that Congress just returned from a month-long recess, was in town for 2 weeks, and there are elections coming up in about 6 weeks. Congress was in no mood for an extended, protracted debate that would take away from members of Congress being able to go home and campaign to keep their jobs. There was a fear, of course, among some that given that this is a Congress that probably couldn't agree on the color of the sky or on the law of gravity, that there might be an extended, protracted debate that might make the country seem divided.
Now let's talk about the arming of the Syrian rebels. You were around as the debate was occurring. What struck you about it?
Well, two things. Number one, it wasn't until the very last day of debate in the Senate, right before the vote, that the voices opposing intervention spoke out. Up until then, the only debate that we heard in the Senate was between those who thought, yes, we should be taking a more active military posture, but we should vote on authorization, a full, broad authorization, and those who said, yes, we should be doing this, but we can vote on authorization after the election. The other thing that really struck me was the utter lack of discussion about the cost of this new war. I don't think I heard more than a couple of sentences on the Senate floor discussing the long-term cost of what President Obama has indicated could be a multi-year operation.
So how are the elections playing into this with everyone in Congress, with lawmakers concerned about how their constituents view their policy choices?
If you had asked me what the deciding issue of this election was going to be a year ago, I would have said fiscal issues, the president's health care law, all very domestic themes. I don't know that the war against the Islamic State, the airstrikes against the Islamic State, are going to be the defining issue of this congressional cycle. I think that the economy still plays a huge role. But clearly, national security, the threat of terrorism, instability in the Middle East, and how America's national defense and the security of our citizens is impacted by that, that is clearly on the radar screen.
As we head into the elections in November, how important is it that the Democrats hold on to the Senate?
One could argue that in terms of major legislation, major agenda items, President Obama has gotten all that he's going to get out of this presidency. He all but admitted as much by saying that if there's going to be action on immigration reform, he's going to have to do it himself by executive order. So there is a thought in Washington that in terms of big items, it really doesn't matter whether the Republicans pick up the 6 seats that they would need to get in order to take control of the Senate, or whether the Democrats squeak by and manage to hold on to the Senate by 1 or 2 votes. There are scenarios, though, where it could really matter. Let's say that there are retirements at the Supreme Court, or a Supreme Court member dies and those vacancies need to be filled. With a Republican-controlled Senate, which has to confirm judicial nominees, the universe of people that President Obama could consider that could get Republican approval and consent would be much more constrained. With a Democratic Senate that is friendly to President Obama, he would have much greater leeway. So there are some scenarios where it could have an impact.
And that is something everyone here will be watching for, of course, as we head into these elections this November. Thanks to Mike for those insights.